Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. When you know better, you get better. It's Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. It's the day before Kevin's birthday.
Yay, Kevin!
Very exciting.
Scorpio King.
Kevin turns 83 tomorrow. He looks great for his age. Our quote of the day: once you have the right information about how your body really works, you can start making healthy choices that finally work for you. The science of your body is on your side. And that's from our guest today, Alisa Vitti. You might remember her. She's been on the show before. She is a world-renowned female biohacking and hormone expert. And she's going to be discussing the inevitable menopause journey every woman faces and how to make it as smooth as possible. Welcome back to our Heal Squad. Thank you guys for being with us each and every day to get better right alongside us. And Jeff is probably even more excited about this than us ladies are.
That's right.
He's like, I was so excited talking to Alisa, I have to say. So Jeff, I feel like your wife is really going to love you more and more as each day passes. And this job is like, I think we figured it out for you.
I think so too.
100%. I mean, I will say that's what is amazing about Alisa is even you guys who are listening right now and might think this episode's not for me. There's a woman in your life. She might be your mom. She might be your sister. She's probably your significant other. And this information is incredibly valuable. So not only will you get those brownie points, but if you can maybe help with the moods a little bit and we'll learn about this food, it's going to be a gift to you too. So amazing stuff.
I love it. Well, here's the thing. When you know better, you can do better, right? And when I went to Tony Robbins' seminars, one of the things he did was a consciousness level exploration where you can kind of see that if you're on a higher level of consciousness, like say like a yogi or somebody who's like very like, you know, kumbaya and, you know,
Evolved.
que sera, very evolved. They're up here and then you get this guy down here who's like, what the F, you hit my car, blah, blah.
Who are you doing right now?
Just Boston.
Like you have to know what consciousness level someone's at to be able to deal with them properly and how to know what level they're on, because you can't expect everybody to be here with you and you can't expect everybody to be here with you. And I'm if you're not watching, I'm pointing to different levels. So it's almost like a building. You can't get to the other floor without the elevator or the stairs, and you got to go up or down, right? So in life, you kind of have to know what you're dealing with. So you know if you have to kind of go up or down a little bit and meet people where they are because they haven't gotten there yet, right? We are all on this journey, and some people will take the opportunities along the way for growth. Other people will see those tough moments and, you know, maybe not rise to it or not have seen a model where someone has risen in those moments, and then they'll just kind of stay there. So, you know, we are all a people, and we are all, you know, God's children or the universe's children, or we all are connected. So we have to find ways to deal with each other. Oh my God, I have to say this to myself sometimes, but that's the truth. So until you know that, it's really hard. So now you, Jeff, long story to get to what you're saying. You now are going to understand your wife so much better, which means you can meet her where she's at in those moments. You can have an empathy and an understanding that's going to make your life and her life so much better, rather than you not understanding, not learning, and then meeting her with friction. And then she gets really upset. And then the two of you just keep finding that you can't understand each other till you decide to divorce. And then it's because he doesn't understand me. And that's where we get.
Yeah, I think 100%
Jeff's like, shit, I'm getting divorced.
By the way, guys, I should let you know. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think that's really smart, Maria. And that's the beauty of information. It gives you a chance to be empathetic, right? That's what's so cool is not only is it know better, get better, but it's know better, understand others better too, right? I think information is one of the key ways that we can have more empathy for other people. So this show's for everyone today. And like always, Elise is just such a well of knowledge. She's just such a good talker too.
Yeah, it's like when you're on a plane and someone's farting nonstop, you have to understand that they just ate something bad or they have a bad diet and you know that they can't control it.
Oh my God.
I'm not that good. I'm not that empathetic, Maria.
Oh
no.
Guys, I've had to pretend they were mine sometimes. Because you know, if you pretend that it's yours, you can get through it a little better.
No. No.
No better, get
thank
better.
you. Yeah. I'm not empathetic to that.
Oh my God. This is actually when we were going through the airport, I told Kelsey, you know it's bad when someone smells so horrible that I can smell it through my mask as they whiz by me at the airport.
Ooh,
There were
too
so
much.
many people in that airport that had horrendous body odor the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the heck?
It
Like,
was-
I've got a KN95.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a legit thorough mask, and I can smell you. Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we opted to not sit and or eat near any of them. That was one thing we didn't chat about yesterday that I think Maria's really good at is she's just so aware of her surroundings, and especially traveling during COVID, right? She can really kind of like suss out, okay, we're not eating at that restaurant, we're not eating there, we're not eating there. It's like bring your own food or get the snacks from the little store. It's like we walked through that airport, Jeff, and we were like, ew.
There was one restaurant open and there were barely any seats, and there was like a woman openly coughing and thinking it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I heard other people sneezing, and so I was like, we're not going over there. We went into the little, the magazine store where like you can get all the little tchotchkes and the stuff. And I was like, okay, this is where dinner's going to be had. So we found hard-boiled eggs. I found a container of blueberries, and then I got a bag of honey mustard pretzels. And so that was my dinner, and I loved it. And we went to the far side of the airport where there were only 2 seats, so no one could sit next to us. We sat down, we ate, we were away from everybody, and
Wiped it down.
We were just like, it's the safest way to be because, it's the Wild Wild West out there, so you gotta protect yourself.
People are crop dusting you.
But P.S., if you're ever on a plane and someone is really making you suffer, couple little things you can do. So I have this hand refresher from Jow. It's a little pricier, right? But I use it sparingly. It's got this lavender smell that I love. So I'll put it on my hands and then I'll put it on my mask so I can get that smell in there. Or you can use an essential oil on your mask. Or you can ask for coffee grinds. I've very often asked the flight attendants for coffee grinds. On one of our flights, they already had it in the bathroom, the coffee grinds in there. And I was like, I salute you. You are angels.
Wow.
Because people have horrible digestive situations, and it happens to be when they're flying, and you have to deal with it, especially if you're sitting near it. So coffee grinds are amazing for that.
That's really smart. I've never thought of that. Clever girl you are.
We might have to work that into our GSTV tips.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
Coffee
Oh, yeah.
grinds. Ooh, they're amazing. Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
So,
We
anyhow.
should go ahead. I was gonna say let's talk about pets at the White House.
Oh, my.
Speaking
Okay.
of us being in DC.
These guys found a really cool article about the most unusual pets from the White House, which I have always associated dogs with the White House. And I remember when the Obamas were going to, they were trying to figure out a dog. Actually, just before my interview, this was in July. It was Sasha's birthday. And the campaign advisor was like, oh, show them your dog. So I was showing the girls my dogs, and we were all hoping they would adopt a dog from the shelter. They didn't, as far as I remember. Their party poodle looking dog, whatever it was,
Yeah.
they didn't get from a shelter. But Joe Biden has
That's
rescued
right.
both his dogs.
Both his dogs.
Okay, so we will have
They're the first
shelter.
rescues.
They're the first rescues, in the White House, which I
Oh.
think is a really great example, and I'm excited about seeing that as a dog rescuer myself. But I didn't realize it went further than dogs. So I'm really
100%.
excited, and I didn't want to know. I'm really excited to hear what the heck's been in the White House.
Well, to me, this is the perfect story right now for you, Maria, because it's like about politics, but not actually about politics, right? It's like whether or not you're on the right or the left, you can agree that it's nice to have fun animals at the White House. And there's a really interesting history around this. Theodore Roosevelt's family owned horses, dogs, kangaroo rats, guinea pigs, a macaw. I don't even know what that is.
It's like a
a
parrot.
badger.
It's like a bird.
It's like a ferret.
A bird.
Oh, it's a bird.
A macaw
Okay.
is a bird, yeah.
Interesting. A garter snake, a bear. There was a bear at the White House while Theodore Roosevelt was in
Shut
office.
up. I don't believe you.
I didn't either. And then I was reading some other sources that confirmed it. And there was a lion, a hyena, and the best part
How?
is Theodore Roosevelt had a one-legged rooster.
What?
Yeah, here, I'll show the photo of the rooster. This is the best part.
What?
You know, Teddy was kind of a weird guy. If you studied American history, he was the speak
didn't.
soft.
No, me
He was
neither.
like the speak softly and carry a big stick president.
Yeah.
Like he was just very quirky. And I think his animal collection is one of the best ways to show
Wait,
it.
so
I'm
he
gonna
had an
pull up-
entire animal collection at the White House?
Yeah, wait, here's a
Where?
photo.
Like in the West Wing?
I guess I need to do a little more
Is there
research
like
on
a
that.
is the White House a massive property? Because I don't feel like you see the gates, but like, is there a backyard? Like, I don't
I don't
understand.
know. I have no idea.
Oh
Well,
my God. He had a one-legged rooster.
Wow.
Kind of
Yeah.
looks like a human.
I know, it's such an interesting photo. I wonder if at the time, Maria, there was less development around it. You know, this
Yeah.
was in the early 20th century. Maybe there was less commercial real estate.
He
all in
had an
Washington,
actual
DC.
lion at the White House?
I'm so confused.
Are
That's what
there
the New-
more photos?
I'm gonna keep looking. The article didn't have a ton of photos, but let me see if I can find Teddy
Also,
Roosevelt's lion.
Like who was saying this? That's what I want to know. Like who was giving this information,
Must be a
right?
historian.
Or were there like,
Yeah, it was the New York Times. Oh, here we go.
trainers? Did he have active animal trainers? Wow.
He was Joe Exotic.
Joe, he was the
He was
first.
the
He was the
first.
original Joe Exotic.
Oh my God, the former president was like Joe Exotic.
Wow, Teddy is
100%.
Tiger King.
Teddy is the Tiger King. Yeah, I couldn't remember the
Wow.
name.
The one I
so
want to
funny.
make sure to shout out, though, that I thought of you, Maria, and is in line with Thanksgiving, is Calvin and Grace Coolidge were sent a raccoon, first of all, to be served for Thanksgiving
Ew.
dinner, which, who wants to eat raccoon?
I've never heard
But-
of people eating raccoon, but I imagine they eat all kinds of other things. So, I mean, we all eat all kinds of things.
I mean, someone ate a
I
bat,
guess.
didn't they?
But when the raccoon showed up, they thought that she was so cute, they didn't want to eat her. So they named her
Aw.
Rebecca, and they kept Rebecca, and they kept her on a leash around the White House.
That's
Shut up! They kept her on a
amazing.
leash. I don't believe you.
I think there's here we go.
Rebecca.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
this
this
is my
is so
favorite
good.
story ever.
I was like, this is such a Maria story. I have a photo of Rebecca. I'll share it right now.
Oh my gosh, yes, photo.
That's
Rebecca.
Grace Coolidge. That's the first lady holding Rebecca the raccoon.
Wow.
Joking. It was so tame.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh my god, look at its little tongue.
I lived kind of in fear of raccoons because we had baby bunnies and rabbits growing up, and they used to play in the grapevines and look down, and they can shred cages with their nails to pieces. And I've heard of like lots of other, well, at the time I had heard of other rabbits that had been attacked, and I was like, not my bunny. So I would stay up all night with like toothpicks in my eyes if I heard any raccoons outside, just to watch over my bunnies because I didn't want anything to
Oh.
happen to them.
I love it. Well,
That's
I,
sad.
apparently if you train them right, they're nice. Here's Calvin Coolidge feeding the raccoon. Let me zoom in a little
Can you
bit.
zoom? Yeah.
Oh my God, they're my kind of people.
Wow.
I know. I like the Coolidges.
Wow.
That's
Raccoons.
wild.
And that's in the White House?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Can we get someone on who was a part of that or can speak more to this? Because this is crazy.
Okay,
Like,
what other
how-
presidents? I want to know what other animals and other presidents.
Let's see.
That's
Woodrow
bananas.
Wilson had a flock of sheep on the White House lawn, which
Okay.
I would love because I love sheep.
That's cool.
Why do you love sheep?
I just think they're very, very cute. They're kind of docile and sweet, and I like a sweater.
You just never cease to surprise
like
me
goats.
with your comments, Jeff. I love goats. I need goats
Yeah,
in my
I
life
love
so
goats, too.
bad. Their little hop.
They're so cute. Did
They
you
like
watch
kick
that?
their little legs.
They're so cute. Okay,
I
what
love it.
else? I want to know where. I'm still confused about Teddy though. Like, where did he keep all these things?
Yeah,
How do you
obviously,
have?
like Jeff said, it was more rural back then, and they were able to. But I was actually just curious now about the White House because we've only seen it, or
Yeah.
I've only seen it from the front,
Yeah.
and you're wondering, like, okay, so where is their space? Like, obviously, there's a rose garden that I've never.
Let's
been
get Michelle
to.
Obama on. She can talk to us.
Hilarious.
I love it.
Anything else
Um,
crazy?
The only other one that I thought would be close to your heart, Maria, was Andrew Johnson. Every time he would see a mouse in the White House, he would make sure to feed it and release it rather than kill it.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a good sign for a president, right? That means they have a big heart.
Yeah.
So true.
I love it. Wow, that's actually fun. So Theodore Roosevelt had a kangaroo. That one came and went really quickly because there was such a list. along with the snake, the bear. Oh, he had an elephant too. You missed that one, Jeff.
Gosh, I skipped right over
I
it.
don't think you
The
said
thing, I
elephant.
agree with you, Maria. I don't understand how these were at the White House, but I'm looking it up.
George Washington had donkeys
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
on the White House lawn.
That's cool.
I guess. I mean, definitely on the lawn. Yeah, I was reading that that Washington's donkeys were on the White House lawn.
Wow.
I would have so many animals. I would get a monkey.
Guys, I grew up telling my parents, someday I'm going to have a zoo and an aquarium. And then I started collecting animals, and I was like, I'm getting kind of close.
There you go.
You got us.
I want every Jeff. I want every animal. It would be the greatest gift. Like, I used to say, just throw me in a zoo, and I would be the happiest girl ever. Just make sure I'm fed, because I love food. Make sure I'm fed and I have a roof over my head, like a nice warm place to sleep. But I don't need anything else in my life other than animals. Like, I'm the happiest person on the planet. So after brain surgery, one of the things I had done a newsletter at the time of the coolest jobs you didn't know existed. And like one was testing water slides. You could make 40 grand a year testing water slides. And so one of them was hugging pandas in China, which I think we've discussed before. And they give you room and board and a vehicle. And all you have to do is hug pandas all day. It's like $35,000 a year.
That?
So I had Alyssa pretty convinced. I was like, we're going to go do this. But I didn't.
That's amazing.
But man, well, I was kind of afraid I was going to be really allergic too, because I'm allergic to every animal. It's like a cruel joke. But hugging pandas sounded so much fun. So for me and animals, we're just one. That's why I talk to them. That's why I hear them, I see them, I feel them, I understand them. I know when a stray is coming my way, whatever it's going to be. And I'm not afraid of them. I love them.
It's good. Big-hearted Maria.
They're my best friends. They're the only ones who understood me and still understand me. Anyhow, let's understand something else. Our cycle.
Right.
Yes.
You like that transition,
That was
guys?
beautiful.
I loved it.
So Alisa Vitti, like we said, is a women's hormone and functional nutrition expert and pioneer in female biohacking. She's the creator of Cycle Syncing Method, a female-centric diet and lifestyle program that leverages hormonal patterns for optimal health, fitness, and productivity. Her period app, MyFlow, is the #1 period app on iTunes, and her methods have been adopted by well-respected celebrities and organizations like the U.S. women's soccer team. Today, we're going to be talking about menopause, everyone. And this is for women of all ages. Alisa, thanks so much for being back with us today for this very important topic.
Happy to be back, Maria. And yes, perimenopause included in this one too, because it's that language that we have all this confusion. Is it menopause? Is it perimenopause? Is it postmenopause? Where am I? What is it? What do I do?
Yeah, so explain it all to us. I've never heard perimenopause. All I've heard is menopause, and you just dread it. You know to ask your mom when she got it. My mom got it on the earlier side, and so I'm just dreading it. And so explain it to us so that we can figure out ways to improve our journey through this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dread comes from this lack of information, right? We feel afraid when we don't know what's going to happen. And I have a little daughter, and I'm thinking about how she gets really scared when she doesn't know if something's in the closet or not. So she has to go and look, right? And it's similar with this menopause closet, we're not sure what's inside. Mm-hmm. So I want to just sort of unpack the fact that perimenopause begins for everyone at 35, and there's nothing to fear. This is a natural process, just like puberty begins in the brain actually around the age of 9, but we don't see pubescence really start to happen until about 12 or 13, and then even then it's really up until the age of 22. It's another decade-long process before the pubescent brain finishes developing and the body is complete with its whole maturation process. So this is a good thing that it takes a long time. Perimenopause is no different, right? It starts in the brain subtly at 35. Slowly, your body will be making ever so slightly higher levels of follicular stimulating hormone. This is the key factor, right? When your FSH levels get to a certain threshold consistently, elevated threshold consistently, that sends signals to tell the ovaries to stop releasing eggs. At the same time, all your menstruating months prior, you're using up all of your egg reserve at the same time. So it's this combination of what's happening with your egg reserve and this elevated FSH level that really moves you in that direction of going from a cyclical reproductive stage to a postmenopausal stage. So perimenopause is that journey between the two, right? That slow, gentle, easy transition between cycling monthly and not cycling at all. And that process can take, depending on genetic predisposition, family history, and what you've done to take care of your hormones in your 20s and 30s and your current diet and lifestyle, that can take somewhere between the age of 35 and about 51, or it can happen a little faster, right? And we know that it's important for us to make this process take a nice, slow, long time, because that means less symptoms for you, more of an easy transition, and future health benefits, long-term health benefits.
So how do we kind of slow that process? I mean, the body's naturally doing it, you're saying. It's taking its time, which is why the body's so insane. How it's just
amazing.
Everything is just set up for our success, and we just kind of tank it with our
can you imagine
choices.
if you were just having your normal levels of estrogen and progesterone one day, and then boom, the next day you fell off the cliff, so to speak, from reproductive stage to postmenopausal stage where all of your hormones are downregulated. You would possibly explode into one giant hot flash. Like it could, it's just too aggressive for the body. So this longer, slower process is actually what you want to support it. You don't want to dread it. It's a good thing.
Yeah. So how do we support it in each stage?
So I like to think of it in a couple of different phases, right? So the first thing to do, and depending on when you're listening, this may or not be possible, but if you're in your 20s and 30s listening, you want to start thinking about what you're doing today actually does support your perimenopausal journey, or dictate the quality of it, at least when you actually begin that starts really more aggressively in your 40s. So taking care of your cycle, this is why I'm such a huge advocate of the cycle syncing method, because if you start taking care of your hormones and supporting them in your 20s and 30s, then perimenopause will be a much less symptomatic experience. Then if you're in, stage 1 of perimenopause, 35 to 45, right? I want you to pay attention to what is happening with your body and really beef up your micronutrients, right? Because likely you've just come out of stressful period of time, whether that be the thick of your career, you may have done child raising, you may not have, but still stress is happening. If you notice and you track back in your lifestyle and you say, gee, I've had a habit of drinking caffeine in the morning, skipping breakfast, then wine at night to wind down, and kind of sugar throughout the day, these things will definitely make the second part of perimenopause way more hot, flashy, night sweaty, because you're going to be, for that decade, 35 to 45, without making appropriate dietary changes, you're going to be leading yourself into the place of estrogen dominance and elevated blood sugar, which will make all these symptoms worse. So I like to explain that, because I don't want you thinking that these symptoms come out of nowhere. Like, the hot flashes and the night sweats are there to just make you miserable for no reason. This is not the case. Everything has a reason in the body, or a root cause. And understanding that is really empowering, because then it makes you want to take action, right? So I think in your 35 to 45 years, it's really about continuing to support your cycle with the cycle syncing method, because you will likely and should hopefully still be having a regular period. You will, eat different calories based on which phase of the cycle you're in, really modulate your exercise intensity based on which phase of the cycle you're in, so that you don't disrupt blood sugar, you don't disrupt cortisol levels, and start really thinking about bolstering your micronutrients from all the stress and the caffeine, wine, alcohol thing, right? And really make sure you're getting, your B vitamins, your omega-3 fatty acids, your magnesium, your probiotics. All of these things are going to set your internal ecosystem up from a hormonal point of view for success when we enter stage 2. Now, stage 2 is that 45 to 55, but really most women sort of have their last bleed somewhere on average around 51. And in the second stage, you should expect your period to become less regular. This is normal, nothing to fear. I know a lot of women, when it first starts happening, I've had many clients call and say, I keep buying pregnancy tests because I'm so worried that they're pregnant at 47, 48. It's totally normal. Obviously, if you feel that that could be a concern, you do want to check, but it's just likely that you're starting to show the signs of moving towards your very last bleed, which is called menopause. That's the only thing that's called menopause, that last bleed. But you won't know that that was your last bleed until 12 months after. And then you would call yourself postmenopausal, right?
Yeah.
So in that second stage, 45 to 55, start to use herbs. This is the time to introduce herbs. I like Maca for this. I like Vitex. I love women taking Flax. Flax provides phytoestrogens that really help with any excess estrogen you might be having. You would think taking phytoestrogens might increase your estrogen load, but actually because they have selective estrogen receptor sites, they're actually going to help modulate your own body's use of estrogen. And so that's a good thing. If you're starting to notice when you do have a bleed that it's very, very heavy or clotty, this can be a sign of a little bit of excess estrogen in that second stage of perimenopause. Any sort of hot flashing, night sweating, this you want to start to use other herbs like black cohosh, and those would be the three that I would start with. Vitex to help you make a little bit more progesterone, Flax, for that, and some Maca to help you as overall.
We'll put all of this in the summary, by the way. So you're like, black what and Maca what?
I know. I'm rattling off a lot of things.
We're going to put all of this in the summary so that you have it. But what I think...
Alisa, I just want to clarify. Hi, it's Kelsey over here. With Flax, do you like pills better, like supplements, or like ground flaxseed, or are they all the same?
So Flax, I suggest just taking that in the ground form because there was a groundbreaking study that was published in the New York Times about 2 years ago that showed that if women simply added in 2 things to their diet, they could delay that last bleed by up to 2 years, which is a very good thing. So I'll tell you the 2 things and then I'll tell you why it's a good thing. The 2 things you need to add are fiber and omega-3 fatty acids. And they had women adding that in the form of beans and fatty fish like salmon. If you increase that dose to about 3 times a week, that's when you get the big benefit. Why is that a good thing? Why would you want to delay your last bleed? Because some women think, gee, I can't wait till that's no longer part of my everyday life because they've had such problematic periods. Well, the reality is that every ovulation you have is so critical for your short-term health and your long-term health when you're postmenopausal, because every ovulation, the hormones involved in that protect your brain, your heart, and your bones. So you want to make sure during your reproductive years that you are ovulating, and you want to ovulate for as many decades as is possible for you. And then when you're postmenopausal, you will have banked all of that cardio, neuro, and osteo protection from your healthy, regular ovulation. So you do want to delay it. And what's exciting is that the studies are talking about simple, affordable dietary things that you can do. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much more that you can do if you really start to back up and reverse engineer, so to speak, an easier menopause by really dialing in your self-care in your reproductive years. But a lot of women are not thinking about that, unfortunately, because we haven't really moved the narrative forward when it comes to really navigating our hormones effectively throughout our life stages, which is what we do at Flow Living and what I'm on a mission to help women understand. But if you find yourself where you're backed into a symptom corner, right? You're in perimenopause and you're stage 2 perimenopause, you're 45 and over, you're miserable, you're hot flashing, you're depressed. I mean, it's not an insignificant thing, even in our brain chemistry changes, right? Having less estrogen can, definitely dramatically impact the way that you feel emotionally. So if you're noticing that this is going badly for you, then you may want to consider working with a naturopathic physician or another type of physician who can prescribe for you some bioidentical hormone therapy. Now, what's the difference between synthetic and bioidentical? Big difference. The bioidenticals, think of it like a key fitting into a lock. Your cells have highly specialized locks that only a perfect key can fit into. And the only hormonal key that can fit into your hormone receptor locks on your cells are the ones that look exactly like the ones your body makes. Those are bioidentical, right? The bioidentical hormones that you can get at a compounding pharmacy. And these have been shown to be very safe and much safer than the synthetic alternatives because they are molecularly, structurally different. And so that can be somewhat potentially concerning if there's history of cancer in the family and things of that nature. Now, all estrogen, bioidentical or not, will have stimulating effects on estrogen sensitive tissue. So that may not be a good option for you if you are someone who has cancer history in the family.
I was just going to ask you that.
Of course. But you can use your flax, you can use herbs, you can use, you could potentially use bioidentical progesterone. You want to really work with someone who specializes in that. If you're going to go down the rabbit hole of bioidenticals, which you do not have to, you want to work with someone who specializes in that, who can really monitor you and make it custom for you. But you can also go through the whole process hormone-free, hormone replacement-free. You can really use diet, herbs, and supplements to help yourself really navigate the hormonal fluctuations and the natural process more elegantly with less symptom.
I love that. I feel like it's so important to let people know because so many people are dealing with cancer more than ever. And I don't know if everybody all connects the dots for each patient. And so if you do have cancer, you have to be so careful because hormones grow things. And so you might be seeing somebody over here for this, and they may not be connecting and thinking of your other ailment that you're dealing with. So I like pointing that out. And I also go back to something you said earlier. This is why it's so important to watch your cycle, because that's going to give you clues that you can tell your gyno, hey, my periods are getting shorter or they're getting heavier, or any of those shifts are natural shifts that are happening because you're getting into those next phases. And I think
I agree. Tracking your cycle is key. I think that's one of the reasons why women love the MyFlow tracker, because it really educates you as you are having symptoms of what could be going on so that you can have a very empowered conversation with your healthcare provider. And I know that we've talked, just about sort of the whole process, but outside of, herbs, supplements, and hormones, there's a lot of other things that you can do to really support your body as it goes through this transition as well, that I don't want to leave out, that are...
Oh, we'll get to it.
Yeah, not just the symptom management piece.
Yeah, well, I think another thing that I wanted to point out that you said that was important is almost like it's an accumulation effect, right? An accumulation of good choices. We always talk about in health, what you're doing in your 20s is going to dictate what happens in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. So even though we all think we're young and we can do whatever and I can eat whatever and it doesn't stick or whatever, it is sticking in certain ways, and it is going to lay out the foundation for your future. So eating beans and fish, yes, it's good in that cycle period that you said. Was it 45 and up? Was it in that age range that it's good? Yeah. But eating that in your 20s and 30s is great anyway. It's nothing different for any age group. It is just an important focus to have.
Yeah, endocrine disruption knows no age. You know what I mean? So if you're disrupting your endocrine system in your 20s, you're going to notice symptoms with your period and your mood, your weight, your skin. If you're disrupting your endocrine system with improper diet, lifestyle, chemical exposure in your 30s, you're going to notice that with effects on fertility, mood, sex drive, ability to sleep. And then if you're disrupting your endocrine system in your 40s, you're really going to notice that with perimenopause symptoms. So it's irrelevant how old you are. You will, it's just, are you supporting your body's function or are you interrupting it? And the more you interrupt it at any age, the more symptoms you're going to have.
Yeah, because you're taking the train off its tracks. It's like going on its tracks. Everything's supposed to work in its order. And we're like, detouring it with poor choices.
Exactly.
I have to ask you before we get into the other ways you can change this, because a couple things have popped into my head. But one is I have a friend who recently admitted to me that she doesn't get her periods. Like she actually stops it from coming. She's 42 and she's like, oh no, I just keep taking the pill. I don't want to get my period. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
that can't sound good. And there are people who say, oh, it's fine. It's fine when we were younger. And I'm like, I don't think that that's smart, but you tell us.
Yeah, no, you're right that that's a common thing that women think is okay to do. The issue is that they're not being, I think, fully informed about the cost of that, sort of from a health point of view, and really the cost of that is that you are not ovulating. Ovulation is the magical experience that happens every month, not because of a reproductive opportunity, but because of the health benefits that it confers to your body short term, like while you're ovulating throughout the reproductive years, and postmenopausally. So it's more studies need to be done about the connection between cohorts of women who use that's hormone replacement therapy. When you take synthetic birth control, right, that you're fully shutting down your own internal hormone production and you're adding synthetic hormones, right? So there needs to be a study done, I think, on, women who take synthetic birth control in their 30s and 40s for this long period of time. And what is the increased incidence of things like osteoporosis and heart issues and cognitive issues? Because we know that without ovulation, you're not getting all that extra benefit for your postmenopausal years. And I'd love to see some information being put out there for women to help them make decisions, because again, that mythology that your period is this big problem that you have to deal with is really the thing. That's a piece of propaganda and mythology that's driving a decision that you're making, right? If you had been informed from the start instead, not that your period was this horrible thing that, you would hope to medicate away, but instead was this enormously important vital sign, conferred enormous health benefits, and it was in your best interest to take care of it every day, right? Your whole cycle, each phase of the cycle, day after day. That's what you would do. But because you've gotten the wrong information, right? It's like a fork in the road, right? You're going on a path that has you believing that you should shut it down with medication, when in fact that just stems from that, incorrect education from the beginning and this toxic mythology that plagues us. And that toxic mythology continues to plague women in their perimenopausal journey, because they just think they're victims to their hormones. Right? It's this victimhood situation, basically. You're a victim to your hormones. There's nothing to be done. Hopefully you can manage the top level symptoms. This is really outdated information. You have total agency over how your hormones perform, because they respond profoundly to dietary and lifestyle inputs. We're going to talk about some of these lifestyle inputs in a minute, but if you aren't happy with how your body is performing hormonally, you got to change what you're doing, and then your body will start to shift and you will feel better. Yeah. Period.
I love that. Okay, so then what do I say to this friend?
You just want to let her know that, hey, did you know that every ovulation that you have, confers all of these important health benefits to your brain, your heart, and your bones? And she'd say, no, I didn't know that. And you'd say, you might want to do a little digging and do some research for yourself about what you might want to do now, because for however long she's been on that medication, she's also depleting a lot of key micronutrients from her body that is really going to be profoundly felt by her when she moves more into the second stage of perimenopause, and she might have more symptoms, right? And she should also ask herself the question, how does she want to go through that process? Some women, they just want to do the hormone thing, all synthetic hormones for as long as possible. And that's their right. It's available and you can do it. But if you want to sort of take a more natural approach, then you've got to make some decisions. And the more time you have to recover some balance and some nutrient levels, micronutrient levels, the better your results will be.
Yeah. It's also probably not good if you are also considering maybe having a baby,
Well, right, because it's birth control. So if you want to have a child, the same thing goes, right? Where you want to really beef up your micronutrient levels, you want to make sure your hormones are balanced. But again, conventional medicine does have alternatives for people who just don't want to do this process, because you can go into an IVF cycle, they will put you on synthetic birth control, they'll control the whole thing with synthetic hormones. And that may be something that you're more comfortable with because you feel that it is potentially overwhelming to be more involved in your own hormonal management. So it's just a personal choice. You can do it either way. And
That's great.
the last person who would judge anybody's choices, because it's really about what you are what is going to get you the results that you want. And we have all the options now. And women should just be informed so that they know which track they want to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to get to all the other ways, but I have one other question from one of our amazing experts on the show who was curious if we were going to do a menopause episode. I'm like, we are working on it. She asked, is there a way to minimize this symptom? For a few days before my period, I am very tired and feel weak. I work out hard multiple times a week, but on those days, the weights and cardio feel impossible to do.
Well, I would have her listen to our first segment together because we talked extensively about this. But yes, what's happening to her is not that her period is victimizing her energy. Okay. What's happening is she's disrupting her endocrine system and her infradian rhythm. Mm-hmm. And what happens in the luteal phase, which is the phase that leads up to the first day of your bleed, your resting metabolic rate rises, which means you must eat more calories in order to keep your blood sugar stable. Without stable blood sugar, what happens to your energy, right? And if you're someone who is always restricting calories, then you're going to find that in the second half of your cycle, you feel tired and hungry and cranky. But it isn't because of your hormones, it's because of you and your calorie restriction, right? And again, I just love sharing this perspective because we've got to break free of this victimhood conditioning. You're not a victim of your hormones. Your hormones are there to give you everything.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's the fact that your resting cortisol levels are higher. And studies are conclusive. And this is what the U.S. women's soccer team, trains based on. If you do high intensity interval training and extensive cardio in the luteal phase leading up to your bleed, you will turn on fat storage and turn on muscle wasting, increase PMS symptoms by that elevated cortisol, elevated insulin can dysregulate progesterone production. Without enough progesterone, you will feel all the PMS symptoms, times 10. You'll feel fatigued, you'll feel moody, you will hurt yourself, right? You've got to also unhook from the belief that women are simply small versions of men that have slower metabolisms and therefore need to calorie restrict more and work out more intensively. That is not true. You are a distinct biological creature from the male creature, and we each need to biohack in specific ways for our hormonal biology. So if you're doing the same thing day in and day out, you are definitely doing a disservice to your hormones at any age. The only time you can start having a daily routine is 12 months after your last bleed, right? You are postmenopausal. You have moved from a dual biological clock reality and back to a single clock, right? So you've gone from having both a circadian and an infradian set of timing running the show in your reproductive years to your postmenopausal circadian only life, which means you can biohack the same way each and every day. You can do workouts at the same intensity each and every day. You can eat the same calories each and every day. Postmenopausally. Before that, you've got to synchronize your diet and your fitness with what is happening in each stage of the cycle. Otherwise, that will lead you to symptoms during your reproductive years, decreased fertility, decreased libido, increased PMS, etc., and absolutely set you up for a lot of symptoms in your perimenopausal journey, which is unnecessary, but we've got to know how our bodies work in order to take care of it the right way, right?
Yeah.
And that's been the problem all these decades. We just haven't been told the right information because women have been left out of medical fitness and nutrition research. And so we're sort of trying to grasp at whatever we can to make ourselves feel better, but we're doing many things that are disruptive to our system.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is so important with flow living, because you're right. I hear so often women complaining around their husbands, like, he can eat whatever he wants and it doesn't even stick. And we're comparing constantly. And like you said, we can't. We're very different creatures. But when you're not raised with this knowledge, you're just kind of adopting what was passed down. And that's why I think every conversation we get to have with you is priceless, because you are breathing so much reality down, to us, and so much useful information. And, it is overwhelming because there's so much to learn, but that's what you do with flow living every day, is try to simplify it for people, so that you understand the differences in your phases, so that you can exercise according to your, the part of the month that you're in, and
right.
Eat the right way, and rather than working against ourselves. And if we did this even in this arena, it's going to spill over to everything else in our lives. Our lives are going to be in a flow, in such a better flow, if we follow all of this, because we're just working against ourselves otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the difference between, do you want to paddle upstream or do you want to go downstream? Because your body wants you to have this easy. I mean, nature is efficient and elegant in its efficiency. So it would not make it, your body is not designed to be this problematic. Yeah. The fact that it's riddled with problems and symptoms is an indicator of the degree of disruption that you are causing it. And I think that it's just unfortunate that for women, versus, the way that we can compare women and men is in the difference in how we're educated about our bodies. That's a good place to do a comparison, and nowhere else, frankly, because it's not useful, because it's comparing like bananas to frogs. It's totally different things. We don't need to be doing anything that's the same. But the education is very different. Boys are educated to really understand how their bodies work. Young men are told in every arena, fitness magazines, medical information, that there's a particular pattern to their hormonal process throughout the day. And everything in our culture that they have access to really supports that. Like, for example, and I'll just sort of ask this to everybody listening, how many of you think that you should wake up at 5 a.m. and do a big workout first thing in the morning, and that is an optimal way to start the day, right? You just raise your virtual hand. Most of you probably do think that, right? And the fact of the matter is that is only good if you have testicles. Like, legitimately, because those are producing hormones, specifically testosterone, in a completely different galaxy of concentration than what we produce as women, that you have access to as a male first thing in the morning. And so you should wake up at 5, because that's when you have your first big dose of it. And you should do a strength training workout in the morning, because that's when you're going to build the most lean muscle with the least risk of injury. And then you're going to do all your deep work as well, because you have all that testosterone for your brain, for your concentration. But if you do that as a woman every day, especially in the second half of your cycle, force yourself to wake up early and do early morning workouts in that luteal phase, you're going to not only have all the negative stuff that we just talked about a moment ago in terms of blood sugar disruption and cortisol disruption, but you're going to increase your anxiety and your brain fog. So how are you going to be more productive? Even though that is what is considered the success practice of the day, having it every single day, that's predicated on male hormonal biochemistry and not yours. And so you have to understand what is happening inside of your ecosystem and do what works for that. People ask me all the time, well, what's the perfect morning routine? I said, well, what phase of the month am I in? And then I'll tell you what morning routine I'm doing. But it's not the same every day. Nothing is the same every day. And that's the secret, so to speak, for women.
And if you haven't listened to the first episode we did with Alisa, we'll link it in the summary so that it's easier for you to find. But she goes through all of this in that episode. Okay, so what else can we be doing?
So I would say, the first thing is to just think about managing your hormonal fluctuations. What do you want to do for that? In your first stage, like we said, use the cycle syncing method because that's the best way while you still have a regular cycle to manage all the complexity of your insulin and your cortisol and all the other hormones.
And that's your product on flowliving.com, the cycle syncing method.
That's right. You can go to flowliving.com and learn more about that. It's also, I wrote about it in my new book, In the Flow. You can also, in your 40s, depending on how your cycle is performing, start using herbs like Vitex and Maca and Ashwagandha, which is just going to help smooth out the fact that your hormones are fluctuating a little bit. And then when you are in the second stage, hopefully you've taken the time to prepare and you don't feel like you need any sort of bioidentical hormone therapy. But if you do, that would be the time to work with a practitioner and start to figure out what you might want to do. Okay, second thing is protect your sleep so that you can reduce hot flashes. Melatonin is a really essential micronutrient that I think women should start taking. If they're cleared to take it in their even as early 40s, right? Because you're making less of it as you age, and the more exposure that you have to blue light prevents you from making adequate levels, which can disrupt your circadian rhythm, and that can disrupt your infradian rhythm. But it's also something that helps you fall asleep, right? And if you're somebody who's having kids or working a lot and you feel like at night you just cannot fall asleep anymore, it's due to lower levels of progesterone and melatonin. So taking some supplemental low-dose melatonin is critical. Also interesting to note that in 1996, Dr. Pier Paoli in Italy discovered that taking low-dose melatonin actually could rejuvenate ovarian function for women who were going through the IVF process.
Wow.
So melatonin, if you are in your early 40s and you're considering, having children at that stage of your life, melatonin is not just a good sleep, support. It can also be a fertility help as well. And then I think, supplements that support your liver can really help with that excess estrogen, like DIM, like milk thistle, whatever feels right for you. We've talked about the nutrition. I would say starting to move toward a plant-based ketogenic diet in the second stage. So stage 1, cycle sync. Stage 2, 45 and over, you're having irregular periods. I want you to do a plant-forward keto-like diet where you're just lowering your intake of sugar, keeping your blood sugar levels nice and low. That's going to be the biggest bang for your buck in reducing hot flashes and night sweats. And then once you are postmenopausal, then you can start playing with intermittent fasting and get all those great benefits. The next thing you want to do is make sure you're getting micronutrients daily and every stage. Start as soon as possible. I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, wherever you are, you need B vitamins, magnesium, omega-3s, probiotics, and antioxidants. We have a great formulation at Flow Living that helps with that, but you need to take them, especially if you have a history of taking synthetic birth control, especially if you've had some postnatal depletion, which is now an actual recognized term. So if you feel like you just haven't quite fully recovered your zest postpartum and you've had a few children or whatever it is, it's due to likely some micronutrient deficiencies that you haven't yet addressed. I mean, it's no small thing to 3D print a tiny human being. So you may need a few supplements to bounce back, right? And then I would say another key thing, there's 2 more key things. Switch to functional fitness.
Ooh.
So that's lifting heavy weights and focusing on flexibility, right? So you can do classic Pilates. You can do any spinal erector work. There's the Gokal method. But like strength training in a way that you probably have not ever considered doing before is key. You want to protect your bone density, lift heavy things, really heavy things. And that is going to keep you not only sort of bone strong for the rest of your postmenopausal years, but it's also going to build a lot of lean muscle that's going to help you not pack on any additional weight as you go through menopause. Oftentimes, excess fat around the middle, gaining weight, is the body's response to not having enough. It's like a way to protect your bone density, because what's a great way to put weight on your bones every day was actually to have more body fat, right?
Oh my God.
So if you don't want to have more body fat, lift heavy things and then your body will overcompensate for
Can
that,
I ask you a
right?
question though? How does lifting heavy things help my bones? I would assume it helps my muscles, but why does it help my bones?
So interesting in the blue zones, and particularly in Japan, they track these centurions, and one of the things that they do, the men especially, is they'll go at not just lifting heavy things. They actually, I'm not sure what the right word is, but they sort of like hit their like bones, so to speak, on heavy bags, right? So they do lots of impact. So this, punching things, lifting things, it adds stress to your skeletal frame, right? And that causes your bones to, because they need to get a little stronger. And they've looked at this, they've done bone scans of these like 70, 80-year-old men in Japan. And again, they're not drinking any milk, right? They're having tofu and they're lifting heavy things and they're, punching heavy bags and kicking them with their shins and doing all this stuff. These guys have the bone density of men in their 30s.
Wow.
So it's really use it or lose it kind of thing. And as we age, as we go through this middle age transition, you want to think about using that time to switch over to a form of fitness that you're going to sustain in your, let's say, as Jane Fonda calls it, your third act stage of life, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's when you need to make sure you can, for example, hip fractures are such a problem for women postmenopausally. Functional fitness can be a great preventative for that, right? Squat down low with heavy weights and push up from that position so that, you don't hurt yourself because your muscles and your fascia is weak. Pilates is great. Lifting heavy things, super, super important. And it's less important to do all the cardio. Walking is good, but you don't need to run forever. That can actually raise cortisol and cause you to put on weight. So be moderate with that.
At what age do you have to start lessening the cardio?
Well,
I mean, like the people who are really like every day running 60 minutes a day. I mean, I don't mean the me's of the world that are going for like a 2-mile walk, but
walking you should do forever. That's the kind of cardio that your body is designed to do. It really depends. The way I answer that question is, have you been doing that forever, right? If you're someone who has been a runner, then continue to be a runner until your body lets you know that the impact of that is problematic for you. At the same time, you may want to not get to the point where your knees are blown out and you need a knee replacement, right? So you want to think about what is the impact that this cardio is having on your bones, your joints, and does it still make sense? You may want to switch the form of cardio that you're doing. I really am inspired by dancers and the way that they physically age. It's remarkable because they use their body in a very functional way each and every day. Mm-hmm. Whether they're ballet dancers or ballroom dancers, it's really irrelevant. But that type of training, which is very low impact. I mean, I'm not talking about grand jetés across the stage, but dancing, it's low impact cardio, but it is incredible what happens to the body.
Oh yeah. Trust me. I did it 8 hours a day for 14 weeks on Dancing with the Stars. My body was...
Did you feel it was a transformative experience for your body?
Yes. And then I recently, pre-COVID, got back into it. I started taking ballroom classes twice a week because I missed it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It's so much fun. And you use muscles that you would never use because you're contorting and bending and moving and doing all
using
this
your
stuff.
Core.
Yeah.
Using your core.
And so I miss it now in COVID. I'm so sad.
I know. It's honestly, and also you want to think about what are the kinds of sports that you can do until you're 100 years old if you want to live to 100. And mm-hmm. ballroom dancing or any kind of dancing is one of those. And we don't think of dance as a sport, but if you do any kind of ballroom dancing, within about a half an hour, you are dripping wet with sweat, but you're not running around. And the other fun thing about that's, I think, an overlooked benefit is the oxytocin boost that you get from dancing or from anything that you're enjoying, because that's flushing cortisol. The cortisol is going to program your fat cells to keep the fat where it is. But if you're doing a form of activity that's just like making you smile within every single one of your cells, right? You're flushing cortisol, you're conferring enormous health benefits to your heart, your brain, and you're getting cardio in. So do something that feels good. Functional fitness, yes, but also find something that brings you joy, because that vitamin joy is a very overlooked but an important part of the perimenopausal process. Because think about it, as you enter perimenopause, you're exiting a time of your life where you are more focused on catering to the caretaking of others, right? Stereotypically, right? Once you're 45 and over, unless you're having children late in life, you are done doing the heavy lifting of motherhood, so to speak, or taking care of kids or elderly parents or things of that nature. On average, certainly not the case for me. I'm in my 40s and I have a 6-year-old, but at the same time,
it's going to be me too.
Don't worry, I got you. But for the most of us, we that's done in our 30s, right? 20s and 30s. And so there's this desire that you have to think about yourself, to do things for you. And in fact, if you notice that part of your perimenopausal journey has an emotional component where you feel frustrated, or you feel like your life is like a tight sweater that doesn't fit anymore and you want something new, listen to that inner dialogue. Try to explore new passions and hobbies and outlets for your genius, your creativity, because it is not just a hormonal transformation that you go through. Much like puberty is not just a hormonal transformation. You move from being a child to being a young adult. That process is, you're not the same person afterwards. And so you should go into perimenopause with excitement and curiosity, because like puberty, you're going to come out the other side not the same person, and in a good and new way. And I don't think that's being talked enough about, because everybody says they dread it. Why would you dread this opportunity to like metamorphosize? You're going to be a different butterfly with different spots when you come out of that process. And I just think it's so exciting to be female, because we go through that at least 3 times, right? Puberty, pregnancy, perimenopause. You transform. You're never the same ever after that part. And it's so cool.
I love it. Before I let you go, there was one last really key component. And I believe there was a study with meditation that you wanted to share.
That's right. Howard Benson from Harvard Mind Body Institute did a really key study that showed just 20 minutes of meditation daily can reduce hot flashes by 90%.
Wow.
I mean, so again, what do you want to do? How do you want to play it, right? Do you want to be like, I need medication, I need hormones, I need something to deal with my hot flashes? Or you know what? I'm just going to meditate. Yeah. And I'm going to feel that hot flash. I'm going to have agency over that. I'm not going to be.
But do you have to do it while you're in the hot flash, or just in general meditating? And what kind of meditation did they study? Was there a specific kind?
A very simple kind. So it just a basic form of meditation. You do two. Okay, so the study shows that 2 20-minute sessions of meditation decrease hot flashes by 90%. And it's a relaxation response technique. So you just sit with your eyes closed and you choose a relaxing word like peace or whatever mantra you like Om, or I think would be really cheeky. It'd be like cool and calm, or like cool as a cucumber. Like, so you're doing this for hot flash management, right? Something that makes you feel. And Tony Robbins is a big advocate for this. If anybody has done his fire walk, he prepares you. Which cool I just thought was fascinating.
Cool moss.
Right, the whole for like an hour, and your brain is telling your cells to feel that way. So we know the mind-body connection is real. It's not this imaginary thing. So pick a cool as a cucumber mantra and just sit, relax, close your eyes, repeat that over and over again. And anytime you feel like your mind is wandering, just keep coming back to that phrase. I think that's a really good practice, and you can do it while you're having a hot flash. You can do it to prevent them, because we know the enormous benefits of meditation. Changes your brain chemistry, changes your cortisol response pattern. You should start adopting this practice. Do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night.
Yeah. See, the thing that's funny is if someone was in, if I was in menopause, let's say, and I'm, an average person that is going to go to their doctor, and the doctor said you have to take 2 20-minute IVs to get rid of your hot flashes, I feel like we would be more apt to say, okay, I'm going to do the 2 20-minute IVs and I'm going to do it, but we won't do the meditation because that's too hard.
I think people have this impression that meditation, you're doing it either correctly or incorrectly. And that's the funny thing. You don't have to clear your mind. You just have to sit. And this is what I like about sort of this focused relaxation technique, because you're focusing on a phrase. So anytime you start to get into your monkey mind about, I've got my laundry list of things to do, you just come back to cool as a cucumber, quietly to yourself, right? And then you can let it go for a few minutes. You don't have to say it for 20 minutes. You let it go. Then if you start thinking about how your partner or your mother-in-law or somebody who drives you crazy, if you start marinating on that, right? You get cool as a cucumber. You just keep coming back to that, and then let it go. And 20 minutes it just evaporates. You'll be amazed at how good you get at sitting still for 20 minutes and training yourself to not engage in thoughts that raise your cortisol levels. That's really what we're doing, right? Because anytime you go into your laundry list or rehash mentally a stressful encounter in a relationship, your body thinks it's happening right now. That's how powerful the mind-body connection is. So if you can practice training yourself not to engage in those thoughts, you get the golden ticket.
I'm going to have to use cool as a cucumber just, excuse me, just through the holidays. Excuse me. With all of the cortisol that will be running rampant in my body, yes. I will just keep going back to cool as a cucumber. I love that. So much great advice, Alisa. I feel like every time we get together, my mind blows like every which direction. And I think that this is just so helpful and just incredible. So thank you. As always, if you guys want to know more about Alisa, you can go to her website, flowliving.com, and find out how to get on the cycle syncing method immediately, because I think it's really, really important, and get to know your cycle better so you can work with your body, not against your body.
Indeed. Go with the flow.
Go with the flow. All right,
Going
Alisa. Thank you so much. I wish you the best holiday season, and
Thank you.
We'll obviously be in touch, hopefully. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, as always. This is amazing.
So good. She's awesome.
Right?
Oh, I've loved her for so long, and she's because everything she says is like, what? And it's so true. I love that point at the end that you brought up about like a doctor would say, okay, go to the doctor, whatever it is, twice a week, get these 2 things, 20 minutes. We'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But meditation's like, no, we can just kind of push it away.
Mm-hmm. Because it's left on us. The onus is on us to actually care about ourselves enough to make that time. Yeah. And it's hard. And I didn't say that to berate anybody.
No.
It's more to just show us that that's where we're inclined to go a lot of the time. No, not everybody, but a lot of us. It's like, give us a pill, let's get it over with and move on. Because we have so many things on our plate, especially women.
Yeah.
So
such a good point, Maria. I think the thing I want to raise with that, Kevin always talks about either the positive story or the negative story around what we're told. And I can even be guilty of when a doctor tells you, like, try meditating or try this. The negative story is, oh, I have to do the work. But what about the positive story of, oh my gosh, I have the tools I need to control my own health and life.
Luckily.
That's the way to look at it.
Other people don't have that option. Other people have no choice but to get chemotherapy or to get something, insulin for their diabetes. Like, the fact that we can go to the doctor and they can say, try these things, we just have to reshape how we look at all of this in general. And everything that she's telling us to do is good for our overall health. It's not like, okay, we want to be powerful and take on our female, health, right? Which can feel a little overwhelming and daunting. No, this is for our overall health. This is for our mood, our anxiety,
everything,
our blood sugar levels, like for everything. So anyhow, I'm always inspired.
Awesome.
If you want to check out the other episode I was talking to you about, it is episode number 122 with Alisa, where she talks really in depth about the infradian rhythm and the circadian rhythm. And I could quiz Jeff right now, but he is our expert. He probably knows more than me. But we will link it in the summary to make it really easy for you. And if this was helpful to you, please share it with every woman you know. Every woman you know needs to know what we were talking about today. So do them the solid. And of course, you always help us too, because the more people we can reach, the more we actually accomplish our mission to help people. So thank you for that. Tomorrow, we're going to be chatting with the founder of the modern self-care movement, Jen Loudon, I hope I said that right, about her book, Why Bother, which will help you actualize your purpose and your happiness and in this one beautiful life we're given. So in the meantime, follow us at Better Together with Maria, at Alisa Vitti, at Jeffrey Crane Graham, at Kelsmeyer too. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.